All right, we are live out here. It's myself, Bob, and Jennifer, and I am going to set Do Not Disturb to on. There we
I did
go.
that this time.
What's that?
I did
Good, good. Yeah, because it'll really mess you up.
it did. Yeah.
Um, so we are out here today to just kind of give I guess an end of year wrap up as far as what's going on with Stockton Blind Alliance and the protests and the inactivity of CCBVI. So um, I'm going to try to get over to the chat here.
Okay.
Oh, let's see. Close and cancel. Oh, wait, the chat's right there. Okay. So, yeah, it's been an interesting year. We started protesting back in May, and it's been, oh man, what, 31, 32 weeks worth of
Yeah, I think
protesting
this
now?
is our 33rd week.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Um, and so I'm just checking to see if we have there isn't anybody chatting out there yet. But why don't you go on and why don't you go on and
Give a little
oh
background. Sure.
yeah, go on and do a little bit of background.
Okay. Well, good afternoon or whatever time zone you're joining us from. We're here in Stockton, California. Jennifer and Bob, community advocates from Stockton Blind Alliance, trying to bring awareness to the longstanding problems that we are trying to solve at Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We, as a group of organized blind individuals, tried to negotiate for years, most intensely from 2018 through, I'd say, May or June of 2021 with the Blind Center to no avail. Finally, in August of 2021, we went public with a letter to the editor. We were always trying to work with the Blind Center because we didn't want to go public. We don't want to kill off the programs and services. We wanted to negotiate with them to include the blind in the process, to
Which should
actually
have been the case in the first
be
place.
respectful, yes, of blind people and the needs and wants that we know best as people with that lived experience. And just to, get some relief and justice from the poor treatment the blind and sighted have received at the hands of administration for years. And instead of them still wanting to resolve any of this, they continue to disregard and disparage and deserve the blind. And finally, in May of this year, they had a little scam of an open meeting, which was not really open. Nobody gets the link except if you jump through 50 hoops and you're on an approved list. We had the client board representative, supposedly, who for the third year in a row wanted to be included in this meeting, but her simple accommodation request could not be granted. And administration didn't even have the respect to notify her until hours after that meeting. Oh, we're sorry that we forgot to call you or didn't get back to you.
So
And I had just learned about poor Bob's experience there, and that was like the last straw. We've seen so many good employees leave this place, so many clients leave this place, volunteers, because of the atmosphere. And so we began protesting after that fake open annual meeting on May 17th. And we've been doing it once a week basically ever since. We've gone to the city council, we've gone to the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors, we've gone to the mayor's task force for persons with disabilities, to many media outlets, and just building a campaign on social media and through the Friends of the Blind, our family, everyone that's seen how this has impacted us, everyone that cares. Most recently, within the last week and a half, we started a petition which already has 551 signatures asking people to call upon Community Center for the Blind to make these much needed changes to work with the blind, include us in the process, and rectify the serious problems there. So that's where we are at today.
And it's been quite a process. Unfortunately, the agencies that we thought would be helpful, it seems like it's been eh, a, a bunch of red tape for, just to keep it brief. But um, now, what exactly is a client board representative? I'm guessing that it's somebody who's a client, but they are also on the board. And they kind of represent the clients on the board. Would that be a correct?
Not on the board.
Okay.
They've not wanted blind people on the board, especially blind community
Yeah.
representatives such as us for years. But through those
Hey, Cisco, by the way.
negotiations we attempted to have with them, this was one of their faux gestures of, oh, look, you have representation. We will pick this one senior citizen and then not accommodate her and pick another
Yeah.
client that we know, is firmly brainwashed in into our camp. I would say that
Yeah.
nicely,
It's
for
all
whatever
for looks.
reason, and put these two names out there. Look, there's representatives now. The board members will check with these people quarterly to see if there's anything to share with the board of import, and that, of course, did not pan out. You
Let me
know,
get the petition link. Cisco's out there in the chat,
I
and
said,
I will get the petition out there, and
thank you.
no problem. Yeah,
There's
and
more details in the petition of some of the particulars of what we are trying to change, that we are definitely willing to be part of the process to put the work in with the right people. People say, can you start a new place? Well, reinventing the wheel takes a lot. Our intention was never to dismantle this place, it was to get them to turn around and change with these same hard-headed few people in charge that will not. The only alternative is to remove a few individuals and work with those who are willing to change until we can find appropriate leadership for this organization that does respect the blind, value our input, and just have a heart for the mission again.
that's
So,
it. Because being somebody who's going through sight loss, um, the last thing that you want to go to is a center where you're going to have it instilled in you that your situation is hopeless. You know,
right.
um,
And you shouldn't
and that's
expect
no,
to
no,
be
not at
bothersome.
all.
You actually have expectations if you're trying to get somewhere and go somewhere, or if you can just be lumped in as one of the simple people they're running through the mill to try to
Yep.
get money for and not really serve. And that's what it's basically coming down to. We did try to work with Department of Rehabilitation. We are still attempting to do that because the state does fund at least two-thirds of the budget here for those classes and trainings, but that hasn't gone very far yet. We are looking for every outlet we can to bring pressure to make these changes because the blind continue to be ignored. And, there's social justice for others. There needs to be social justice for the blind as well. We are a super minority, but we matter too.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I just put the link for the petition out there, Cisco, and I will also put it in the comments afterward. Um, yeah, and having worked there um, for that 6 months, and it's funny because, well, there are there are trolls out here on YouTube who will say things like, "Oh, go just get a job." It's not as easy for somebody with a visual impairment to get a job, and that's not playing the victim. That's statistics. Now, I
Right.
hope that once I get back down to Modesto here in the beginning of January, I'm really hoping I can get in with the Apple Store. I think I would love it out there. Um, but it's not that easy when your unemployment rate exceeds 70 to 80 or more percent. And yes, the pandemic has opened up a lot of virtual jobs. However, discrimination is still something that is persistent out there, even in the virtual world. It's a saddening thing because I know people who are blind and visually impaired who can accomplish things with a screen reader sometimes faster than somebody with sight.
Mm-hmm.
you know. But the thing is, it all comes back to training, and
Yeah.
this is where the Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired in Stockton is concerned. Is they have some awesome trainers up there, but they're limited. They're limited by the administration. They're told to keep clients first, which when I was working there, that was a thing. Clients first, clients first. But when there was something that they wanted me to do, and I had a client on my calendar, oh, just reschedule that client for next week. And I mean, I've seen that happen on multiple occasions. And then the thing that they wanted me to do often that I had to reschedule my client for, it didn't happen
Right.
because you know the executive director would be back in her office talking to whomever, and the time would go, and the end of the day would come, and I wouldn't receive word about what I was supposed to do. Um, and it just but the way that they treat people there is unacceptable. Yeah, work environments can and will be toxic because I mean the
Yes.
reality is the reality is that no matter where you go, there are going to be toxic people, and the the thing is that the more you have a larger number of toxic people, the more toxic the workplace environment's going to be. And so, toxicity is everywhere, but the level of toxicity at Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired was just beyond terrible. It was disgusting the way that they treated people.
Right.
And and it's something that has to be stood up to. It's something that needs to be spoken about. But in so doing, I mean, well, there was the protest that happened at the office downtown where they called the police. I wasn't involved there, um, wasn't there at that time, but during the time that uh, you all have been protesting out there, they've called the police twice, right?
On peaceful, law abiding blind protesters simply standing
Yep,
and with signs on the sidewalk.
exactly, exactly. Many don't have no jobs, um, but they choose not to. Exactly, exactly, Cisco. I can't wait to get back to Modesto in that sense. I mean, I don't want the time to go by faster up here because I'm enjoying the time that I'm getting to spend with Lori. But I want something different in 2023. I wanted something different in 2022, but
Right.
and I think a lot of us have been saying that. We wanted something different in 2020, and then wham, the pandemic hit. And then, well, maybe 2021 will be a better year. And then wham, boom, we were still, you know, locked down. And then 2022, and um, all I know is that I want to see positive change at CCBVI. Whether I get to be involved in working there again or not, because I loved the job. I loved what I did.
Me
But
too.
that environment, I hated it. If
Right.
if it was run by people who had, you know, like though I don't agree with his the way that he acted toward people on occasions, it was just the way he was. But Steve Jobs, when they founded Apple, it was founded on principles of empathy, focus, and impute. And empathy means you put yourself in the position of others. You try to understand where you try to walk in their shoes. And many on that board, they have no idea what it's like to walk in the shoes of someone who's blind.
Right.
They have no clue, so they can't empathize. And the executive director, who has a visual impairment, um, she, how can I say this kindly? She has no empathy. She has no
Right.
empathy at
Right.
all. There's a faux sense of it, but there's empathy, and that's where it really counts. Because if somebody's telling you something about life and something that they're going through, um, and especially if you've been through it, you can sit there without pity and you can say, I understand, I can empathize with you on that. And it builds that connection.
Yeah.
And then the other factor was focus. And I'll tell you what, focus, it does require some sense of organization, and organization is not a word in the vocabulary at that place.
No. No, it's not. And that executive director, who was the case manager, which metamorphosed into the glorified title of Director of Client Services,
Handout.
we complained about the lack of empathy and treatment. And instead of any correction, apology, there was always a promotion. And now ultimately into the seat of executive director. This is not okay. I mean, she's the volunteer coordinator also, and we've seen how volunteers have been treated. That's too many jobs for one person to do properly anyway, even with empathy, skill, you know, everything, the complete package, which is not present in this
Mm-hmm.
individual. But how can the organization go forward like this?
Exactly. Let's see. Cisco says many workplace people who attempt to speak out are often called whistleblowers, so others stay quiet to keep their jobs, in my opinion. Which, that's the truth. I mean,
Right.
and the way the economy is, people can't afford to lose their jobs. I walked away because I mean, in the long run, I wouldn't have been able to afforded to have kept my job because they were wanting me to go up there more and more, which it's understandable. And I would have considered moving up there had that place not been so dang toxic.
Exactly.
Um, but there's no way I was going to pay like $800 or more a month ultimately to go to and from work. That's ridiculous. Um,
Right.
and um, so it just the whistleblower thing. One of our members who spoke out and spoke to Department of Rehabilitation as well. They sent an email to his boss stating that he was threatening and harassing and bullying.
Right.
And so they were defending the center at the cost of this person's job, which was totally unrelated to CCBVI.
Right. Right. It's just the whole attitude of suppression, intimidation, arrogance, and not willing to receive outside input, suggestions. And if you are trying to represent the blind, to lift the expectations of the public about the blind and the blind about themselves, positive blind mentors is key. But also, when someone who is blind says, I would like to volunteer and give back, and they get told, well, we pick our volunteers because we're worried about liability. What faith does that show in the ability of the blind? Like we would walk through a door and just fall down and hurt ourselves?
Right,
Or,
right.
the
There,
falsehood that to volunteer with youth, which is something precious that we have strived to do because we know how much it means to have positive adult blind role models say, oh my gosh, that's where my life can go, has been turned down. They say, oh, everyone needs to, be live scanned, background checked, and all this. And that's not true that everyone who works with kids has to. But even if it were the case, we volunteered to go through that process and we
yeah,
were still denied because they don't want us to infect the youth with our positive expectations and
that's
philosophy
it.
of blindness. Want people to be ignorant. They come in, they think this is all there is, then they're grateful for it. They get their pay from the state and they send them on their way without connecting them with people and resources that could support them for a lifetime. Because low esteem, timidity, I mean, I know you've seen this, Bob. I mean, I've been this
Oh
way
yeah.
myself. I've come a long way, but they don't encourage, they don't offer advocacy at the
No,
center.
they
They
don't.
don't encourage it.
And
I
if
know
you try to
our
stand up for yourself, you get in trouble.
You do. Like you're gonna have your case reevaluated. You're gonna have services held
Mm-hmm.
over your head.
Mm-hmm.
You value your job, don't you? How dare you politely share constructive criticism or just another suggestion? Or this is how the clients feel. This is what the clients want. You know, that shouldn't be a crime.
Let's see. Cisco says disability doesn't even pay enough um, to survive. They have to live below the poverty level, in my opinion. How can that be um, supportive? And that's the thing. I calculated out SSI at one point before the increase, but it's probably not going to be very much because each year on SSI you get a cost of living adjustment, right? But then also each year, typically your rent goes up. and other stuff goes up. And so what typically what measly, it's more often than not, it's just a couple dollars, up to $10 extra a
Right.
month. You know, how does that $10 extra a month balance out to your rent going up 70, 80, 90, $100 a month?
Right. Or when the
And they're,
eggs have tripled at the store, for example.
yep. And up here in Canada, it's absolutely ridiculous as far as the pricing goes. Even when you do the currency exchange and convert it to American dollars, like some of the stuff, like bags of flour for, I don't know, $8 or $9, like it's
Wow.
crazy. Um, but the thing is that there are a lot of people in the blind community who want to work. And sadly, there are people in the blind community who ostracize them and say that they aren't trying hard enough to find work. When really, many of them, they haven't received the level of training that they need to feel confident. And
Right.
sadly, and I'm sure you could probably attest to this too, Jen,
Yeah.
that many in the blind community, we grow up, you know, unless you have had a very positive, reinforcing family, you kind of grow up with this mentality of, well, there's not much I'm going to be able to do. I mean, that's what I've struggled with.
Right.
And 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 so getting a job, then there's that fear of, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do this? And that should be one of the aims of places like Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired, not just to build the skills, but to build the confidence. I'm working with someone privately whose name I won't mention out here. You know the individual
Yeah.
though. And that individual, when I came up to Canada, they were afraid that I was upset with them or that I wasn't going to work with them anymore. And um, it doesn't pay much, which I'm not worried about that. But like, even with this YouTube stuff, like we don't really make anything off of YouTube either. That's fine. But I told this individual, I said, no, 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 no. I said, I'm not upset with you. And I said, and I'm not worried about the pay. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it for myself. I've seen it in other people. Like, the some places, some places charge thousands of dollars for training courses to go through this stuff. If you're blind or visually impaired, there's a place called Mac for the Blind. And I mean, I get it. They have a business, and I honestly am starting to think I would really suck at business because um, there are people who are going to come in without assistance from Department of Rehabilitation, and they aren't going to have the money to pay for services. And I don't think I could tell them no. Like like this particular individual that discussing Jen,
Hmm.
I want to see that. I want to see that person succeed.
Right.
And that's what I told them. I said I'm not worried about the pay or nothing. I want to see you succeed, and this person's coming a long way. And the the one of the places that she worked with, I don't know necessarily that the service was bad, but because everything in our society is like this instant McDonald's mentality,
Right.
they weren't able to take the time to help her with her other disability, you
Hmm.
know. And that's the thing. It's like they
People fall
these
through.
cen- they fall through the cracks exactly.
Yeah.
And these centers should not only teach them the skills, they should teach them how to advocate. In all of the training that I've been through, um, I don't think I've ever been taught to advocate for
No.
myself. Um, and they should also help to build their confidence. And I think that those areas would help, you know, significantly in finding a job because
Yeah. Because like
I'm
when Department of Rehabilitation places someone in a job for the 90-day probation
yeah,
period, you're getting support during that time. The employer's getting subsidized for you, so they're probably going to be a little cheerier or more
yeah,
relaxed. But that would be the perfect time to start building up someone's confidence. And, maybe it is their first job, but especially in a center for the blind, like you say, why were they so opposed to providing accommodations forever until they found out they had to? They thought they had so few employees, they weren't obligated to provide accommodations to employees until they found out California was much more, proactive for disabled, and you could have 5 or fewer employees, and you still,
It's-
why do you have to bring this to their attention? Why
yeah,
would they deny accommodations requests in a place for the blind? We're not asking to be babied or hand out, but if, say, you buy an inaccessible copy machine that has multi-layered digital display buttons you have to push through different menus, you can't braille mark that.
nope.
So either buy one that can be used, or you need to allot time that someone can assist if you choose, especially knowingly after you have blind employees, to purchase something like that. You know, why would you say you're using so much of your coworkers' time to help with that? Or, why can't you use this time clock? Because it's not accessible.
Right.
You could have asked us, consulted us in the process, or asked us to brainstorm how to best use that, But these are just some examples of what would cut into someone's confidence, and then you feel like a burden. Whereas if you could just do those few functions with assistance where you need assistance because you are physically unable to do the task. I know so many blind people spend so much of their own time. They want to make sure they're on par or better performing. They want to perform, they love their jobs, they're proud to be working. Why not harness that in a positive environment and encourage them instead of beating them down?
Exactly. And this is what I've said before, and some people don't agree with it, and that's fine. But um, when you're, you know, there was that survey that came out quite some time ago, and there were people who said that they would rather live without a limb than to be without their sight. It was a significant amount too. It was like 69, 70%, something like that.
Wow.
There was an overwhelming amount. There were an overwhelming amount of individuals who opted that they would rather have 10 years taken off of their lives than to live without their sight.
How do you think that
And
makes us feel? No.
right?
Yeah.
And and so the last place that you should feel like a burden or anything like that is in a center whose mission is supposed to be that of um, helping the blind community to grow. And
Right.
the SSI thing, yeah, and that's where I was mentioning was I calculated that out one time, Cisco, because you're talking about people living below the poverty level, and the homeless rate is going. I mean, it's significantly increasing, and even up here in Canada, it's like in the I don't know, it's about negative 29 or something up here right now, Fahrenheit,
Wow.
and there are homeless people down by the banks of the river down here because they don't have anywhere else to go.
Mm.
And I don't know how the heck they survive, but it's just like down in Modesto. Those rates are substantially increased. And people who are on SSI, people who are on SSI, typically, if you calculate it out to about a 40-hour work week without any overtime or anything like that, just a straight 40 hours per month, um, typically are making about $6.25 an hour.
Right.
And many of them want to work, but
And
because
yeah,
we're looked at as liabilities, and there's
people
misperceptions
want
out
to
there.
work. They would like to earn more than that. Some
Yeah,
people, of course,
exactly.
in every population, there are people who don't want to work. But on the whole, who wouldn't want to better themselves? And what we were talking about, the 70% so unemployment rate. What does it say about community center for the blind that so many blind employees have left there with no job to go to, putting themselves
Yep.
back at that poverty level? I know Bob and I both
It
experienced,
sucks.
but it was what we needed to do for our health and to help better
Yep.
from the outside. And I know you and I don't currently have a job, but I know we like to
We
give
we
back
help people.
positive ways. We like to put our energy into helping others. And, fortunately, I don't have to work right now, but
Yep.
I will at some point again. But I volunteer in a lot of groups in this community, a lot of organizations. I use those skills and keep them up and put them to use for others in the community. I don't just sit here, you know. And I know the same for you, Bob, that, you're taking, a very low rate from someone to help them improve their skills.
Yep.
You
Yep.
help with lots of things. That you've helped several of my friends with their technology issues. You give back and you are contributing to society like most sane people, want
Right.
to. And we're not asking, like you said, for a handout. We're not asking for everything to be done for us, but just give us equal training and an equal opportunity at the starting line. Give us a moment to get adjusted to the new workplace with orientation and mobility, just to know the lay of the land in whatever way. And we can compete on an equal level given the right training opportunity and experience for that job.
You know, and there's been statements going around for a while now, at least that I've seen. I don't know if you've heard them, but about the laborer shortages.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that factor into that. How are you treating your laborers? You know,
Right.
that contributes to it. You know, when you there was a place up in I think it was up in Washington. I'm gonna have to find the article for documentation, but the CEO of that company was he was ostracized years ago because he decided that all of his employees, regardless of what level they were at, all of his employees were going to have a flat salary of 70,000 a year. Okay, like all of them,
Mm-hmm.
from just the the grunts down at the bottom all the way up. It was a salary of 70,000 a year. Okay, that's very livable compared
Yeah.
to when you're used to living off of like 12, 13,000 a year.
Right. Right.
Um, and people ostracized him, but his company succeeded because people actually wanted to come to work because they didn't have to worry about working two or three jobs and figuring out how the heck to spend time with their families. But the other thing that contributes to this laborer shortage, besides the foul treatment of laborers,
Yes.
is um, there are many, even though it's a super minority, so to speak, in the blind community. There are a lot of people in the disabled community who, if they were hired and they were treated right, they would be loyal and they would
Yes.
work and they would find ways to make that happen. But because their eyes don't work or their legs don't work or whatever the case is, they are they're not considered. And
Right.
I mean I've seen um, an experience applying for a job at a Best Buy when I was 18 years old, and I had talked with a manager in the it was before Geek Squad, but it was in the tech
Uh-huh.
support department. We had a really good conversation. He said, unfortunately, it's up to the general manager. I would hire you on the spot if I could. Um, and I later found out their little tech support room had a step up into it. Okay, and shortly thereafter, what happened was I was not hired because I couldn't see to read a cash register screen. But then what they did was they put a ramp up into that room and hired somebody in a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
which again it shows you. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again. Um, that survey about which you would rather have, this or your sight. Uh, Blindness is something that is very much looked down on. Um, there are fools out here on YouTube that say that I bump into things all the time, and it's funny. I've had people come up to me in Modesto and they're like, "I've never seen a blind person walk so fast." And it's like, well, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. Um, I forgot my cane when I came up here,
Oh,
and but I'm still, when I have to go out, I make my way around. You do what you've got to do. But
I got told
mm,
before, you ain't blind. You ain't blind and riding no bus. Like you could ride. Like, my legs work. I can climb onto the bus. I've been oriented to where to
yeah,
put my fare or my card, and
yeah,
I ask for assistance. Yes, I do ride the bus, and I know how to get where I'm going. But I'm glad that you're amazed by this. But
right.
I don't think many people put energy into faking it, and there's a whole spectrum of blindness. It doesn't mean you see nothing to be blind or to have a cane, but if someone does have a cane, deficiencies in their vision that they are alerting you to. So, you
Well,
know.
see, I've had mixed feelings on that one because I've
Mhm.
seen people who are in the blind community, and no offense to them if they're watching this, but I've
Uh-huh.
seen people post on Facebook about how upset they are because people are amazed at them for doing the smallest things, which I can understand that.
Right.
It's
It's
kind of
education. If it's not malicious, I could see
yeah,
people amazed. I mean, it can be insulting if you take it that way, but the only thing we can do is educate people one day at a
yeah,
time. Might be the only blind person they know, so they're watching you. Maybe they knew someone that didn't have much exposure to real life experiences, and
yep.
you know,
Well,
so
there's that facet, and then the other one, that the other perspective that I was looking at is maybe in their minds they're sitting there thinking, I don't know how the heck I could do that if I was in that same
right,
position,
right.
you know?
It goes
And
back to that biggest fear of losing that sense. That
exactly,
on the scale, it looks amazing, but we just, with the right low tech and high tech adaptations and training and confidence, you know, we can do almost anything a sighted person can do. But if we can't build each other up and share those experiences,
that's it.
yeah.
Let's see. Cisco says I was just speaking to a young man and said the same thing, or said the same. People in wheelchairs have gotten ramps so they could access um, many places, and that's the truth. Because the thing that people would want the least, I mean, if there are people who are saying they would rather have 10 years taken off of their life than to live without sight, it shows. Like blindness is one of the big fears where many of us we either started going through sight loss sometime later in life or we were born with it.
Hmm.
And it's like, we have to live with it.
Right.
And
It's almost
what
in between, where, like, for me, it was a gradual process from birth where it deteriorated. Like, I think if someone was born blind or they suddenly lost their vision with the right training and, all those skills, they probably would advance quicker than I did in my life
yeah,
because, you're not trying to hang on to residual vision. You'll go to speech or braille or other techniques faster instead of trying to cling to the last bit of vision. But I people can lose their sight in an instant. I know someone who dropped weights on their head because they didn't have a spotter. They were blind, can be an injury, an illness, an accident. I'm not wishing it on anyone, but just the awareness, diabetes is rampant these days.
yep.
It
And
is
not
out there, and you want to be aware in case someone or yourself become, in need of these services. You want to know people have your back and are going to
on
help you. Not think
exactly,
it's better than having 10 years off your life.
exactly. And another thing with the pandemic that we've gone through, um, I'm not saying that it's a cause, um, because that I haven't seen anything to prove that, but it seems that with the spikes of those who have contracted the virus, which I don't even know if we're allowed to say that out here on YouTube without getting flagged, but the way that they are, but the big C virus,
Yes.
um, that there is a seems like there's a correlation, or it's I can't say that it's a cause, but there has been an increase in the number of people who are experiencing visual disabilities
Mhm.
after experiencing the virus.
Mhm.
And the the National Institute of Health and Medicine, I believe it is, they estimate that by I think it's 2050 that um, the number of people with visual impairment to total blindness is going to significantly increase. Um, so I mean, it's happening.
It's a reality that we're trying to be on the cusp of, nationally, internationally, but definitely locally to make sure there is a safe, effective, and quality place for the blind to come grow, thrive, and succeed
Exactly.
and get back to their lives.
So with that, with all of the protests over 30 to 32 weeks of protests,
Yeah,
we've not seen really any change from them. There have been words, but it seems like that's what they are pretty consistent as, just giving words and canned responses.
right,
So, what would you say the plans are moving forward into 2023? We just, I'm so as much as I can be there, I'd be glad to be there and continue to protest until change happens. Their neighbors are going to get tired of it.
right. And a lot of people are sacrificing time, gas,
Right.
to be there. You have to be there during the week, during the hours they're open. People are working in school, can't be there. There's a core group that will continue to represent, but protesting day in and day out for, say, a year is probably, not the solution. But this organization says they're a private, independent nonprofit. They provide
Yep.
services people can take or leave. They're not accountable to anyone. The Department of Rehabilitation is hesitating to say they can have any say in what goes on within an agency that they're supporting, although they place employees and clients there in harm's way that has been, overly described to them by many of our members. So they're not unaware of this. So it does bleed over. They have to have some accountability, which we continue to work on. We don't know. We are exploring every avenue to try to make these changes. Basically, the president and treasurer who have been there over a dozen years, and this new director who people have been complaining about in her other roles leading up to this for at least 7 years, need to go. We need people that are qualified, professional, and have a heart for the mission in those positions. I didn't lump the treasurer even on that list before until he
Until
came
he
up.
got in your face.
And I knew that he had intimidated our NFB president before, that he was one of those people that was always
Wow.
appearing in the room to outnumber. They said he couldn't take an advocate in with him, which he could have insisted, but he was trying to meet with them about certain issues. He was scared. He's this large man. Now I understand why. Came charging out to meet him in the lobby. What are you doing here, Ken Volante? And
Wow.
now I know what that feels like myself, because this individual came up. I couldn't see the finger that was right in my face, but, large man towering over me, yelling in my face repeatedly until Lisa's little teenage son across the street saw. He didn't know who it was. He came over, said, "Hey, they're blind. Leave them alone. Leave them alone." He tried to stand between me and protect me the best he could. But why is this man serving on a board for the blind when
Exactly.
he's had my contact info for all of those many years, our group's info? We tried to meet with them before. We keep offering to meet on these issues if things will change, but that's how he chose to approach me.
Hey,
And
Arctic Fox.
there he
Sorry about
still
that.
is with no apology. He hasn't been disciplined, he hasn't been removed from the board for this treatment. And so it always shows the people that have some money, influence, or whatever, they will keep over a client because the clients aren't what matter. I had the same thing happen when I was
That's it.
groped and harassed by a volunteer. He was sent away for a couple weeks and then back because, he was invaluable. Obviously, I wasn't, and I was an employee at that time. But I know others, clients and employees, have endured the same thing, and it's probably still going on.
I don't doubt it.
You
And
don't know. Some of those problematic staff are gone, you know,
yeah,
but
things are
the
tolerant.
the client atmosphere, the staff atmosphere is unsafe. And when you know that your concerns, your grievances have been laughed off, haven't been dealt with properly, and you're continually the one that's left there, and the person is still there, and now they know that you've complained about them, the
Mm-hmm.
intimidation just grows and grows. And this administration and this board president don't care. They won't give you an honest hearing with any kind of outside HR or as a client resolution. How can you complain about these people to these people? We've shown over and over that that doesn't work.
Exactly.
The
And
whistleblower policy you were talking about, there's no protections for employees in their
not
handbook.
there, not there. They want to know everything. And
And
welcome, Mark Dick Fox. We're just sorry.
yeah,
This is we're just talking about the situation with mine and Jen's and well the former employer of others involved as well. This community center for the blind and visually impaired um, in Stockton, and just discussing the things there. But it's good to see you. How you been doing? It the way that they run things there, they care more about the appearance and all of that stuff. I remember when I was working there, I treated my clients the same. I didn't care if you were a big wig, if you were somebody, it didn't matter.
hmm
But I remember I was told that I was going to be working with a client, and I was told just make sure to be extra nice to them because they're a friend of, I think it was a friend of the board president. And I looked back at the director and I said, I treat everybody the same. I said,
yeah,
I treat everybody with kindness. I'm not going to, treat anybody more special just because they're a friend of a board member. Forget that. Mm-mm. No,
why would you even say that?
because it's all about appearance for them, and it's all about I see all this stuff going on, and I think that just like what I've seen out here in YouTube for the past months, it seems very similar. This group of people is trying to keep peace, but only amongst themselves. They're trying to keep a
Right.
fragmented group together, and that involves special treatment for friends of those people and this and that, and I just I think it's ridiculous.
It needs to change. You need new blood. You need things shaken up. You need blind representation.
Yep.
I know when we first were having those meetings with them in February of 2019 was our first meeting where we requested to have the board and not the administrator and case manager, who's now the director, present, but
Shame,
because of,
shame, shame. That's all I gotta say.
all these reasons, we wanted to share those concerns. The board had been walled off for us forever. We finally got a meeting, and it was only the board president, the director, and the case manager, the people that we had asked not to be there because of people's, emotional damage, intimidation,
Yep. Yep.
people. But we pulled together and we had the meeting, and I said again, can we serve on the board of directors? Is there a reason someone that's a member of the National Federation of the Blind cannot serve on the board of directors? Is that a conflict of interest? Because that's how they've been saying it behind closed doors. And the board president turned and said, we have concerns about confidentiality. I'm like, how can that be the next statement? Are you saying blind people can't maintain confidentiality?
Okay, I gotta interject on that one.
Yeah,
Um, they're acting like they're Apple and they have these big proprietary secrets that are
right.
world changing, and they don't. I mean,
No,
being on the inside, they do not. But they're acting like they're this like big top-notch company and they've got to keep their proprietary. They are not developing technology. They
no,
are not doing anything that is out of the norm. They are actually performing below what would be acceptable for a place that trains people with visual impairments.
right. And
Um, th-
only matters, personnel matters, or if you're involved in a lawsuit, say some legal matters. I understand those being confidential,
right, of course.
but a policy change you're intending to make, but you can't handle any different opinions or something, so you keep it secret till the last minute and spring it on people, and
Yep.
everything's confidential,
Yep.
confidential, all the secrecy, and even you find out it's not even something earth shattering sometimes. Why the hell did you keep
Right.
that
Right.
secret?
You're not allowed to talk about the new plant that we put out in the waiting room.
Now, saying you're going to end the van program where people were relying throughout the county for transportation, when especially inner city transportation sucks,
Oh
spring
yes, it does
that
up there.
on them at a meeting saying, here's, what's going to happen. And I said, when is this going to take effect? Today. No, that was what started us in October of 2018,
Yeah.
really focusing on trying to meet with them because we needed the board in front of us. How could, if the director is making all these decisions, you would assume the board has control over the director. And if you have problems with the director and they repeatedly are not fixed, you would be able to go to the board, and a board should be welcoming to resolve these problems, to let the pressure out. They're not necessarily going to go along with everything you bring to them, but to be heard, to be acknowledged and respected. And
Hmm.
we never got answers back from any of these meetings. It was like talking to a brick wall. And, there was these assumptions about our motivations that were coming out in, the voices. So you could feel like anger and palpable
Oh yes, yes you
disgust
can.
in the room when you open your mouth. Like, I turned my head to ask somebody if they had something to say, and the president yelled at me, "Are you saying no, Jennifer?" Just because I started turning my head to the side.
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
no, I was turning my head to ask Peggy if she had something to add to my comment because she was to that side of me.
Hmm.
But you can just feel it vibrating in them. And these people should not continue to be in charge for
No,
13 years
no. And in
when
a
they
place where they've
disregard the
been.
blind. Yes, they
Yep.
know that they have been in charge, and people have been complaining about the last three administrators, including the current one, and they won't act to make changes, and they've
No.
become the problem.
And they don't trust their staff, let alone their
Right.
own administration. I mean, they would. I mean, I've heard the stories about how in prior times they would spy on training sessions through the intercom system on the phone,
Yeah.
or if it was people who were severely visually impaired or totally blind, they would just stand there in the room knowing that they couldn't be
Without
seen.
announcing themselves rudely, against all blind etiquette. They follow you around, pace themselves against the wall, thinking no one will notice they're there. I mean, these are all things that have happened, let alone the obvious, examples. But that's just so
Exactly.
rude. The micromanaging, the second guessing, the assuming always that the staff is at fault, and unless it's one of the protected few that can do no wrong, it's toxic workplace, it's workplace bullying, it's not an effective place to teach the blind. It's not
No.
a good place to work, and that's why Bob and I have chosen not to work there anymore. We are trying to help others make these changes, but ultimately, like you said, going into the next year, if these people continue to run this place in the ground, we will have to come together and try to build support for an alternative program.
Yep. And
But it
that
work.
sorry,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was going to say that place is not a garden in which healthy plants can grow in, let alone survive. Um, and change does need to happen. And you know, it's just hilarious to me how um, the rumors have gone around that we are out there trying to get them closed down.
Right. Or the
Um,
doors are locked so that we won't come in like we
oh
want to
yes, because we're
there.
just such violent, blind protesters.
Yeah,
we're gonna
but
go in there and make a right. Those doors have been locked long before the protests were
they
going
were
on.
locked long before that. And several of our members were in there for a San Joaquin Council of Governments meeting on an occasion a few weeks back. There were no incidents. It's just a sham. We have no
Yep.
desire to be in there until the environment changes. They can have their little drop in session on Wednesdays where supposedly people can start coming in again. But the intent is to have no clients there to deal with. I know
Yeah.
you said when you were working there, Bob, that the doors were locked because they didn't want the NFB people
Oh
coming.
yeah, that was stated. That was stated. Yep.
And it's not
Um.
NFB people. There are many people, friends, families, and ally of the blind and non-members who have had issues with this place. We can
Oh
name
yes.
60 of them, And now we have 551 on a petition. The number who are aware is growing.
Yes, it is, and I'll be sure to add that petition into the description of this video. It's out on change.org. Let me see if I can put that
Yeah.
in the comments again
It just,
here.
if you read the petition, it shares a little more, like I said, about some of the concerns and issues we've had. It also generates an email to the board at Community Center for the Blind.org email address saying that you want them to work with the blind and make these much needed changes. So if you can add your name, if you're in Northern California, if you're in San Joaquin County, great. If you're anywhere else, great. We appreciate
Yep,
the support, and we want to be able to help you where you are too if you're having similar situations, because there needs to be awareness. The blind are a super minority, but like I said, we matter too, and we need
exactly,
to stand together and make these changes.
exactly. Let me, I gotta go and grab that petition yet again here,
Okay.
um, because
So
evidently the link dropped out
share,
of my clipboard. What's that?
I'll share our contact info while you're looking that up, Bob.
Yeah, go for it.
So we've come together as Stockton Blind Alliance, an umbrella organization name for people who want a quality blind center and services for the San Joaquin Valley and beyond for the blind. We have a phone number 209 200 8589. Email StocktonBlindAlliance at gmail.com. And we have these accounts on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, Stockton Blind Alliance. Please like our pages. Please follow along and support us. Sign this petition. Help us get the word out. You know, there's a lot of things people could be doing, but we have such a heart for this. We don't want the future blind to go through what we've been through. You know, we want them to have a safe place to learn, thrive, and grow again in San Joaquin County. This president, this treasurer, and this executive director need to go. We will definitely work with the rest of them. We are willing, several of us could serve well on this board of directors. We serve on other boards of directors. We serve at many levels in the community. You know, we are teachers, IRS agents. Um, you know, we are productive members of your community, and we want to be welcome in a center for the blind again.
Our desire is to um, our desire is to see people in the blind community have confidence and be able to go out there, even if the job market doesn't accept them, that they could have the confidence to build something themselves,
Yes.
um, and know that they can. I mean, I remember years ago I was oh wait, I think Arctic Fox says you need to start your own foundation that has compassion and use your platform here to grow it from the ground up. Um, I'd certainly help in any way I'm able to. Appreciate that, Arctic Fox. I mean, that's something that was, that was the reason that I was trying to gather the money together for that Mac studio, because I want to start my own business. I prefer Apple products, but the reason that I am wanting to get a Mac studio is because it has the power to run Windows and other operating systems through virtualization. And
Oh.
so I can work with any of those even if I'm on a Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I prefer Mac now. I mean, I used to be like a solid Android guy. Like I will never use Apple products. Thank you for that, Arctic Fox. Arctic Fox just signed the petition. Um,
So much.
and there are a lot of us who are experienced who could teach in different degrees, and really, I mean, I guess if you want to go by the standards of CCBVI, you don't really have to have any qualifications to teach. I mean, when I was hired there, I did not have my certifications for JAWS and Zoom. I had experience, but I did not have my certifications. And when I saw how things were going there, even Department of Rehab said that they would pay for the certifications and stuff, because it was needed for employment. I paid for that out of my own pocket because what they do is they make it, they use your certifications to make it look like they have this well-rounded staff there. I didn't want to be a part of that. Just be a part of their little thing that they've got going on there.
Dog and pony
Um,
show, like,
yeah,
look at the
yep.
website, look at the newsletter, but that's not what's really going on behind locked doors.
And I'm still working toward getting that Mac Studio. I have a dedicated savings account that's an Able account. And if you're disabled, and that's something that would be a good thing to talk on at some point. If you're
Oh,
disabled and you want to have a savings account,
hmm,
but you're afraid of your benefits being affected, you can sign up for an ABLE account, which stands for a Better Life Experience. And they have them, I think, in most states, but you don't have to be in um, the particular state to have an ABLE account there. But what the ABLE account does is it allows you to have a savings account with a balance of up to $100,000 without your benefits being affected. So
that's
there was a
definitely
lot.
one good advance for disabled people.
Yeah, because it used to be you couldn't save because if you had more than $2,000 in assets, you would get kicked off the system.
Right.
So that's where I'm transferring anything over for that Mac Studio and just working on saving up for that. And that's one of my goals in 2023. I mean, I do hope to find a job when I get back there so that I can at least live a bit more comfortably. But in the meantime, I'll just keep working with people. And I
Right.
do think that starting a foundation or an organization is a good idea because not only could we do it locally, we would be able to do it virtually with others,
Hmm.
you know, and we could offer that compassion. That probably, that's a potential um, alternate route because
Yeah. It's
this place,
encouraging that more and more people, are being supportive. Like, we have a woman that said, if we needed space, we could probably use space 2 to 3 days a week. We have people saying, if you start this, but we need someone, the core of board members, of course, we need financial support,
right?
that. So it is an undertaking. It's a lot easier not to reinvent the wheel, but that is
True.
definitely what we would be looking into if this place continues to ignore the blind clients and drive itself into the ground.
Yeah, much as I hate to say it, sometimes you have to reinvent the wheel if the one that you're working with is mangled
Yes.
to the point that it's beyond repair. And if they
We know.
continue acting like that, and including and especially the board of directors and executive director, if they're going to act like that, they are the ones who are bringing that organization underwater.
Right. They have
Um,
fiduciary responsibility as board members to do what's in the best interest of the center, and they're not doing that, so they should be removed just for that.
exactly,
Not to mention
exactly.
selling our bought and paid off building, letting it sit abandoned for 4 years, getting broken into by the
With
home.
no explanation, and then you should have seen it on the
Thousands of
website.
dollars a month on a cramped rented office and then selling it secretly without telling us. I mean, you can go
Right.
on and on. That just summarizes in a nutshell their lack of transparency, accountability, and appropriate responsiveness. And of course, no consideration for the input of the blind.
But you know what? They did the same thing that a lot of places have done. They found they found a credible factor that they could blame it on, and
Mm-hmm.
they blamed it on. Well, if it wasn't for COVID,
Right.
it's
If it wasn't for crime, or, when the downtown improves a little more, we'll go back there. Well, there are still bottles of urine and homeless people camped out in front of this new center. You
there
know,
are.
people running back and forth.
Hmm.
It's not that much different, but the neighborhood there knew us and watched out for us. There were many transportation options to get there, and we felt safe. Only the director at that time did not feel safe. She wanted a little prestigious North Stockton office, so that's what she
Yep.
went for over the client objections and the staff objections.
But I'm hoping to see 2023 be a year of change in a lot of ways. Even if um, even if nothing happens with that place, then it's time to rebuild. And the people who are volunteering the time and money and gas and everything,
Yes.
um, to come to the protest, they could come out and work and in training and
Right.
help people, as
Right.
opposed to wasting their time on a mangled system, which is essentially what that is. I mean,
Right.
like,
We won't be doing, the physical protest much longer if there's no effect.
right, but we'll
Because
still speak out against that place,
we
and
continue to speak out, but
we'll just have to raise up some competition.
if it gets to be a year and we're still protesting and there's no change,
Yeah,
we're definitely looking at another angle, and we appreciate everyone's support, suggestion,
exactly.
input, because we are very open to input. We know we don't have all the answers, and we definitely don't have all the resources, like for legal help or,
And we
you know,
don't have $75,000 a year like that director who had it
like
handed to her either.
for doing harm to the blind.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, literally got doubled paycheck for hurting people. I mean, I've seen clients in tears there
yeah, I've seen
because,
staff in tears there too,
yeah,
including myself.
yep, yep, same. And I mean,
Then
the
they're propped up again after they're discarded and abused. Then all of a sudden, here they are on a annual report or a
as
fundraising.
clients, but they get
Look at our
slandered too.
dearly departed that we did nothing for, that we trash.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
disgusting.
No, it's I think that's a good idea. Just continue protesting. I mean, there's what, 21 weeks left.
Right.
And it sounds like a lot, but if we get to 52 weeks and it's a full year, then I mean, and that's something we'd have to have a big panel
Yeah.
discussion on, of course. But by the sound of it, it sounds
Present.
like it'd be better to use
Yeah.
that time to actually help people and do what they are not doing there.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the staff. I just want to make that clear because they'll probably twist that around and say, oh, they're saying that the staff
Yeah.
isn't doing their job. Well,
We
yeah, they
currently
are.
have no issues with staff. It's only the administration and board currently
And
that we have
yep,
issues.
and the staff from what I saw when I was there, they are underpaid, overworked, and
Yes.
totally
Right.
abused and manipulated.
Yes.
So yeah, that's all I can say about that one. It just
Not counting the 6 or 7 that have left here because of the environment, not because of COVID.
yep, just like myself. Um, I mean, and you, I mean, there's many others. I talked to somebody before I came up here. I won't mention her name out here, but
Hmm.
she may come and join in the protest too.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. It just but you know, ultimately, we could. There are some other avenues that I think we could take it to, like writing, well, making several calls to Congress, or
Yeah.
the our local congressmen and things there.
Or,
But
the assembly, they have to have some say over Department of Rehab, which controls the purse strings. So
right,
that might be
right,
the level, and then Congress after that. But, basically, people need to see it's not the veneer, it's not the face they're putting out. We want a
exactly.
genuine center that welcomes, includes, and serves the blind.
Where
And
people can grow,
yes.
where they can learn things. And I mean, with one client that I would work with, um she was in her 30s, and she was uh she was given an electronic magnifier, desktop size,
Hmm.
otherwise referred to as CCTV. I don't like using that term because it's not appropriate. It's not the correct term for it.
Right.
CCTVs are those cameras that are in up on the light poles and stuff in the cities and
Yeah.
keeping an eye on things. But 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 the thing is that I had never used one before. We were working virtually, and again, okay, it
Uh-huh.
can be done. I downloaded the manual for that device. I read the manual, and I walked her through the steps, and she learned how to use it. And with her vision, she was in tears, and I'll never forget it.
Right.
She was crying. She said, "I never thought I'd be able to read from a physical book again. I never thought that I'd be able to handwrite letters again. This is amazing." And
Right.
that's what it's about. But when
What
you make it
it's
about
about.
the money, the people suffer.
And
I
people think
mean,
their life is over and something so simple, and one device or a few weeks of training can make a world of difference.
yep, exactly. Let's see. Cisco says, "I joined Arctic Fox and signed a much needed petition, virtual hug," and we appreciate that because that's a way that you can support and seeing what's going on is just by signing that petition.
They,
Cisco says, advocating at the California Capitol with permits if needed might encourage KCRA
oh,
and others to share your important voices. Which I mean, that might be a good idea.
yeah. Thank you,
Breaking
sis.
news.
It was really nice to have you join us in person. I know that was a long trip for you, and
Yeah, looking forward to
you
seeing
just
you
really
again.
encouraged us. You happened to come on one of the days they called the police on us.
Yeah, yeah, she saw for herself. Yep.
But you're
So,
an awesome supporter, and we appreciate you.
and so one way or the other, change has to come. I know and like I said, in a lot of ways, I'm hoping that change comes in a lot of positive directions in 2023. I
Yes.
know I've wanted to do better for my boys and myself for a long time, but the fact that people fail to acknowledge is that discrimination still persists in this world, and it hasn't gone away. Um, and so it's not as, "Hey Lori, I love you, huh?"
Oh,
Cisco, yeah, Lori's out there in the chat.
oh,
Um, Cisco says, "I wish I had been there more." Well, if you're able to, and the beginning of next year, we'll be out there again for maybe
yeah,
21 more weeks or so.
yeah. At least till May,
So
right?
I'll keep you posted on
If
that.
things don't miraculously change, but we can always pray for that.
Yep,
We will definitely have a presence here no matter what. And if someone is dealing with this and they need an advocate on the phone with them, if it's here in Stockton, I can find someone to attend with you if you are nervous about getting services from Department of Rehabilitation or Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. You don't have to be alone and not know the answers. We are here. We can connect you with people that will support you
exactly,
through this
exactly,
process, and we appreciate your support very much.
exactly. And we just need to keep on going. And I just it's you know I don't know. I just keep hopes that 2023 is going to be a year of change because I think a lot of us need it.
I know the Blind Center is closed next week, and we're going to give everyone, the week off. But please continue to share the petition, and we will
Yes, please do.
back out virtually and in person, kicking off the new year,
Yes,
hoping for those changes. And it just encourages us, everyone that signs or comments or shares or likes. We know you're standing with us and amplifying our voices, and it means so much.
absolutely. And so we are just going to keep going. And if the current method isn't working, then we'll go a different way. But the ones who are closing that place down are the administration and board inside of it. We have said from the beginning that they have a lot of potential to help a lot of people, but they need empathy, they need compassion, and they need to stop focusing on the money.
Yes,
So
be
yeah,
genuine. Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
not
That's
about
it.
appearances. It's not about how much money you can wrangle out for something.
Yep.
Give
If
what you're getting.
if you're a nonprofit, then don't treat your blind clients and staff like cash cows. It's as simple as that.
Yes, and if you enjoy
So
people, you're going to have a lot more loyalty, a lot more
Yep,
success. People on the outside, family, friends, and contacts will see these people positive and happy about the job and the place, and your supporter list will grow. But the opposite
exactly,
has been the case
exactly,
for quite some time.
exactly. So I don't know. I don't have anything else to contribute at this point. Um,
I
and
just
and
want to thank everyone again,
yeah,
wish you
go
a
for it.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please follow on our Stockton Blind Alliance accounts. We'll continue to share updates and reach out if you think of ideas or ways that can help. And just hearing from you gives us a boost because it's hard out here. And we
It
appreciate
is,
you.
and we're not looking for pity.
Right.
That's the thing. It's funny to see people. Oh, they're just looking for pity. They're using their disability for no. We
No,
can care less about sympathy. It's about being human. It's about being human.
being a human shield, and protecting people. I mean, you take some wear and tear, and thank God we have each other, is all I can say. We're stronger together.
That's it. That's it. And that's what we need to do is just keep standing together. Um, I don't know if you want to do another virtual panel like this at some point, and if others want to join, we can do that. Or just take off for the holidays, whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
um,
If we have enough people available sometime next week, possibly.
share
Maybe
some
more.
experiences and things.
Yeah.
Yep,
Just I just want to be mindful of people's vacation time too.
exactly,
And
exactly.
yours, thank you for chiming in and helping all the way from your vacation.
No, that's the power of virtual. You
That's
know, the that's the thing that they're failing to grasp is that they could have a very strong employee base. It doesn't have to be in person, and the pandemic has proven that. Yes, in-person training can be very beneficial, but for the technology side,
right,
um, not as much. If you have somebody who knows how to explain through things, um,
right. That's key. And we are
so
without lived experience, and we know explaining things well to blind people.
hey
It's
Dippy,
not
how's it
over
going?
there. It's to the left of your hand, a little bit forward on the table, right?
Yep, exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what it amounts to. So we'll just look forward to seeing what comes in 2023. And again, like I had said, if others would like to come up and even if they need, I can set up a stream and then walk through it and just teach them. Because all they have to do is sign into it and I can bring them up.
A
Um,
practice session, just they have to have either YouTube or Facebook account, right?
that's it. That's it. Yep.
And
Yep.
Safari as a browser.
Yeah, Safari. Yeah, it
Uh,
doesn't work on Chrome on iOS for some reason, but um, yeah.
Okay.
So
I will definitely get more feedback from the group. And thank you again, Bob and Lori, for
anytime.
and enjoy the rest of your week and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, and to everybody else out there if you celebrate it. If not, happy holidays. Stay
Yeah.
safe. Watch out for the angry people out there. Don't be one of them. Just try to
Yeah.
be try to be kind, but don't take kindness to mean that you have to be a doormat either. Stand
Right.
up for yourself when you have to. You advocate for yourself. You do what you've got to do, because you don't deserve to be trampled on by people.
No.
And
We educate
so,
people one day at a time. So
exactly. And
thank you
so
for
again,
taking the journey with us.
yeah, we're definitely thankful. You all have seen it out here in the streams. And again, if you need to get in touch with us, we are Stockton Blind Alliance. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at Stockton. It's under Stockton Blind Alliance. I'm gonna get that in the descriptions to the videos and things, all of the links, including the petition. You can email us at stocktonblindalliance@gmail.com. Or you can call at 209 8589. And yeah, thanks for coming out and chatting with us, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep, you all take care, and thanks for coming up, Jen, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, take care, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.